Hello, this is k.jolie with Crochet Basics, and in this episode we're going to make a dog sweater. So this one should fit between 7 and about 9-10 pounds. You want to take measurements because you might have to adjust. Okay, so something to keep in mind. I'll show you right now how I measured for this piece. Okay, so let me show you how to measure. Okay, now this is our model for today. His name is Andy Biscuits, and he's not a poodle. He's actually a very small Labradoodle. He was the runt of his litter. Okay, so you want to start with the neck, okay, because you have to get it over his head and onto his chest. So he measures about 12 inches around, but I'm going to make it looser, of course, you know, so that we can get it over his head and his fluffy ears. He's got some big ears. Okay, now I'm going to measure from the base of the neck to about maybe an inch before the tail. Okay, so that's about 13 inches on him. He's small. He's a little over 8 pounds, this one. All right, and then from the top of the arms right here, okay, I have about 11 inches or so. All right, and then over in the back, it's smaller than that because his legs start higher. All right, and another thing you need to take into consideration is the width between his legs, his chest, right here. Now, this is a small dog, so I already measured. It's about 4 inches. It's 3.5 to 4 inches from his legs across his chest. All right, and then from his chest, from his neck, come on, Scoocha, from here. Now this is a boy dog, so we can't go all the way back because his business is there and he'll pee on it every time he wears it. So you have to keep that in mind if it's a boy dog. Okay, so I measured, and it's about 6 inches I have. Okay, from the very front to his rib cage, really, the base of where his ribs are. All right, so let's put this scared, very scared dog down, and we'll get this going. All right, bye-bye. So I'm using size 4 medium weight yarn. You need a H, which is an H8 US size 5mm, and you also need an I9, which is a 5.5mm US sizes. Of course, you need stitch marker, yarn needle, scissor, tape measure. You definitely need a tape measure with this one so that you can adjust for your fur baby or fur grandbaby, or you know. All right, so let's get this started. In the H, in the I, we're going to start. Put your H aside, but have it there. Okay. If you do a slip knot, I do not. I do a little crossover on my hook. That's just how I learned. So that's what I do. All right, and we're going to chain 35 chains to get started, and we're working the back piece first. All right, so for row 1, we're working a single crochet. So you'll skip the first chain, this chain here, closest to the hook, and you'll work back in a single crochet. And you'll end up with 34 single crochets for row 1. You'll chain 1 and turn your work. So from here, we're just going to work back and forth. So if you're working it along with me, you can pause it until you're ready to move on to the next part. So, but from row 2 to row 6, 1 single crochet in each stitch, and for each row you'll have 34 stitches, and you'll chain 1 on the ends and, you know, turn your work and all that. All right, and you're going in both sides of the braid. Okay, so here's the front facing you, and this side of the braid is facing the back. All right, but we're going to go in through both sides of the braid, and so I'll meet you in 2 seconds at for row 7. So if you haven't, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, comment below, all of that. If you want to see more puppy patterns, dog patterns, let me know. Comment below, tell me what you want to see, and I will try my best to accommodate. Also, I have a new website. The link is below, and check me out. You know, I have finished items, I have patterns and stuff, and really just getting started, like listing stuff on there. But I do have a bunch of stuff up there already, you know, a bunch of patterns and different items and stuff. But I'm working it out because I never had my own website before. Okay, so that was row 6 for me. Now, remember, not all dogs are the same, and hair dogs are different from fur dogs, okay? So if you don't realize that, Labradoodles and other doodles usually are usually hair dogs, okay? They're hair dogs as in they don't shed. You have to get them trimmed up and all that kind of thing. So their fur is, you know, fluffy, usually. A fur dog sheds its own fur, and the fur is usually not giant dogs. I'm not talking about huskies or anything. I'm talking about like Frenchies or bulldogs, terriers, like Jack Russells and things like that. Like those are fur dogs where their hair, excuse me, where their hair is like short and to the body, and it sheds and that. I mean, like even corgis are fluffy dogs. They have big fur, Pomeranians, things like that. Like those, you know. So you definitely want to measure if you're making it for your dog. And if it's a fur dog with like the thin fur, or like the fur that's sleek to the body, like a Frenchie, you know. A French bulldog, one of those small bulldogs, that's what a Frenchie is. You want to definitely measure, and you might want to not chain as much. You might want to take a couple of chains off. All right, but I'll show you how to adjust. I'll show you when we do the neckline, how to get a smaller, you know, neckline, you know. Okay, row 7, we're going to do increase. Okay, so for row 7, you're going to do 2 in the first, 1 down the row, and 2 in the last, and you'll end up with 36 single crochets for row 7. Okay, you'll chain 1 and turn your work. So now for row 8, we're going to do the same. We're going to increase, and we're going to get up to 38 stitches. And we're only increasing on the very ends. And I got a knot in my yarn. Okay, maybe. Nope, still knotted. Sorry, still knotted. Wow, very knotted. All right. Okay, well, you get to going. Sorry, two 2 single crochet for row 8, 2 single crochet in the first, 1 down the line, and then 2 in the last, and you'll end up with 38 single crochets for row number 8. Wow, what a knot. Okay. Let's see. Sometimes when my yarn gets knotted, I try and crochet extra fast, like it's gonna help. But I figure if I pick up the slack, you know, the loose yarn, then maybe it'll be easier to untangle it or unknot it. I don't know if that's like a silly thing or not, or for other people do that, but I'm not even sure why I started doing that, but I don't know. Silly, right? I'm like, oh, I got a knot. Let me crochet faster. And try and just get the slack out of the way, you know. Hopefully the knot will untangle, or it'll be easier with like less slack, you know, less yarn floating about, loose yarn floating about, right? So you'll chain 1 and turn your work, and for row 9 we're going to increase again, and this will be our last increase for this piece, for this for this piece. Okay. All right, so this will bring you up to 40 stitches across. So 2 in the first, 1 down the line, and then 2 in the last for row 9. And you'll end up with 40 stitches. So an FYI, this is actually the second time I'm making this sweater vest here. The first one came out okay. It came out pretty good actually, but I wasn't thrilled. I wasn't thrilled where I did the increases and stuff, you know? Or where I cut off the increases and made it more narrow and stuff like that. So I said, you know, let me adjust this, because, you know, I like a good pattern. I don't want to put, you know, poo-poo patterns out there. Okay, so you'll chain 1 and turn your work, and you should have 40 stitches across. Okay, so you'll see how it bows out a little bit on the end. Don't worry if it's curling. It's going to be sewn, so it's not, it may be annoying now while you're working it that it's curling back at you, or you know, but don't worry about it. It's going to be sewn. The pieces are going to be sewn in place, and you know, it's not a blanket or something where it's going to annoy you. Okay, so at this point I am about 2.5 inches wide from the neck down, and 10.5, just over 10 1/4 where we first started, and my width after that is about 12 inches beyond. If you're working it along with me, you can pause here. Okay, right after I tell you what I'm going to tell you. So now from here, from row 10 to row 30, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way down with a chain 1 and, you know, a turn work. Okay, so I'll meet you, if you're working it with me, you can pause here. If you need to come back, if you subscribe, you'll be able to find me. And also, if you like the video, usually there's on YouTube, there's a list. So when you like a video, it goes into your liked videos or your watched videos, and then you'll be able to find me that way also. If you need to come back, or, you know. All right, so from pause if you're working it with me, or if you need to come back, all that, okay? And so we're going to work from row 10 to row 30. This is the back piece, 1 single crochet in each stitch, and pause here if you're working it with me. So now this is 30 rows, and this is the back piece. So I'm going to cut off pull a tail, cut off. All right, and you might not want to go as big. It depends on your dog. Okay, so the dog I'm using is a little over 8 pounds that I'm making this for. All right, so this measures just under 8 inches long from the neck down the back. All right, and on the sides where we increased, I said it was 12 inches, approximately 12. All right, so from here, let's work the chest piece. So we'll put the back piece aside, and we're going to work the chest piece. In H8, which is a 5-point millimeter hook, same yarn I'm using. Okay, and we're going to chain 23 chains. And we're going to sew the neck piece. So if you want to leave like a tail for sewing beforehand, that's, you know, that works out too. All right, so we're going to chain 23, and we're in the H hook. Okay, so we're going to skip that first chain closest to the hook, and you're going to work 22 single crochets for row 1. And actually, you're going to work it for the first 3 rows. So for the first 3 rows, 1 single crochet in each, and you should end up with 22 single crochets. So if you're working it with me, you can pause it. So we're working from row 1 to row 3 in the H hook, single crochet in each, and you end up with 22 stitches per row. And then you'll chain 1 and turn your work. So if you want, you can pause here. If you're working it along with me, you can pause here until you have your stitches ready, and we're ready to move on. And we're picking up both sides of the braid for this piece as well. So now for row 4, for this piece, for the chest piece, okay, we're going to crochet the first 2 together. So now that's TOG, if you don't know the abbreviation. So usually it'll say, like in a pattern, it'll say 2 TOG, T-O-G, and that's a decrease. You want to crochet 2 together. So you go into the first, you pull up a loop, you go into the next one, you pull up a loop, and then you pull through all 3, and that's TOG. That's crocheting 2 together. All right, so you, for row 4, we're crocheting the first 2 together, 1 down the row, and then the last 2 stitches together, and you'll end up with 20 single crochet for row 4 on this chest piece. Okay, so you'll chain 1 and turn your work. Now for row 5, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to crochet the first 2 stitches together, 1 down the row, and the last 2 stitches together, and you'll end up with 18 for row 5. Okay, so now for row 6, we're going to do the same thing. Crochet the first 2 together and the last 2 together. So that brings you down to 16 stitches, okay? So this is what the piece looks like so far. And just to give you a measurement, because I'm trying to keep up with that, sometimes I forget. You should be at about 6 1/4 for where you first started, and then about 5 across if you're in the same hook as me. So now from row 7 to row 20, you're just going to continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch, 16 stitches per row. Okay, so from row 7 to row 20, 1 single crochet in each stitch back and forth with a chain 1 and a, a chain 1 turn work. All right, so if you are working it with me, you can pause it here, and then I'll show you what we're going to do after that. So now I just finished row 20, and to give you a measurement, it is about 5 1/4, almost 5 1/2 inches from the neck to the base. If you want, or not want to, but you can always put a stitch marker, a little scrap piece of yarn, or one of these. These are I love these. They come in like 2 different colors. Sometimes you can find it more than that. And you want something like a contrasting color just so it stands out. All right, but a little piece just to mark which is the neck and which is the bottom, in case, for later on. All right, so from here we're going to increase. So we're going to do two in the first one, 1 down the row, and 2 in the last, and that'll bring you up to 18 stitches for row 21. So you'll chain 1, turn your work, and you're going to repeat that. You're going to work 2 in the first one, 1 down the line, and 2 in the last for row 22. So you'll chain 1 and turn your work. Now for row 23, you should be up to 22 single crochets for row 23. Do 2 in the first, 1 down the row, and 2 in the last, and that should bring you up to 22. chain 1 and turn your work. Okay, so for the next 3 rows, you're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch, back and forth, of course. You should have 22 stitches per row for row 24, 25, and 26. Okay, so if you're working with me, you can pause here until you're done doing your stitches. Okay, so that was row 26. Alright, so for row 27 and row 28, we'll repeat the same thing. 1 single crochet in each stitch. And you might not want to go this big. If your dog is smaller, you know, you do want to try and get a measurement to make sure. And also boy dogs, if I didn't mention this earlier, because this is the second time I'm doing this video, so sometimes I forget to mention all the stuff I mentioned the first time. But if you have a boy dog, it's different than a girl dog, because if the material, you know, if the crochet hangs lower, the dog could end up piddling on it, peeing on it, you know, and then you have a dog walking around with a wet spot. You know, nobody likes that. So you want to keep that in mind. And if I didn't mention it, if this comes out too big or it's too, like it hangs too low, you want to get a piece of elastic, not a super skinny piece of elastic, you know, maybe like a 1/4 of an inch or so, and just to cinch it up so that it's more snug on the dog, so that the dog isn't, you know, peeing on it. Okay, so keep that in mind. You want it to be snug. And if it's a girl dog, you can go, you know, longer with this if you like. Alright, so that's row 28 for me. I'm just going to pull a tail for sewing. Okay, so but your pieces should pretty much line up. You know, almost exact, not, you know, maybe not completely like, you know, the length, because here we did a bigger hook, which the bigger hook, sometimes it makes a difference and sometimes it doesn't actually. All right, so my chest piece is about 7.5 and my back piece is about 7 3/4, is it? Just shy of 8 inches. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Okay, you'll line up your pieces and you get a yarn needle. All right, and this is my top for my chest piece, which I don't think it does make a little bit of difference because this is wider. So we did more stitches below with the 28 single crochets. Okay, oops, okay. All right, so from here with my scissor, I'm going to snip off. I'm going to pull a tail and snip off. I'm going to pull, not a tremendous tail, but I'm going to use it for sewing. Okay, so I want to be able to thread, you know, a yarn needle. Okay, so get your yarn needles. Okay. And I like, this is how I keep my yarn needles. I have a bunch more, but this is actually a toothpick holder. So, but it works out perfectly. It's clear. I can see my yarn needles. This one's seen better days. It's cracking. I got to get a new one. Now, for whenever I'm sewing with yarn, I usually, depending on the project, I usually use a tapestry needle or a metal yarn needle, because I like it to be more precise, you know, and sometimes with the plastic ones it'll snag, or it'll, you know, it'll wobble, like, you know, it'll wobble while you're trying to push through if it's, you know, if you're trying to push through some thick yarn. Okay, so start at the top to sew the piece together. Okay, so you're only going to sew about 5 rows down. So now this is where we had the wider stitches here, and this is where we were more narrow. Okay, and then this is where the shoulder is on the dog. Shoulder? I guess it's a shoulder. Top of their arm ish, whatever that is referred to as. Okay, so you can you know, pin it together if you like. I usually don't, me personally, I usually don't use metal pins when I'm doing with yarn, because I'm always afraid, you know, if they have the big head on them. I have a few in here with the big pearl head. Those are great. They stand out, you know, you'll see them. All right, now for here, sew around, not back and forth. Okay, so you go in on one side, you come out the other side, go in, you know, on the same side each time. You don't want anything that's going to annoy the dog or, you know, cat or whoever you're making this for. That's silly. All right, and you're only going to go, let's see, a few rows down, like 5 to 6 rows down, something like that. Remember, it's a single crochet, so just to where you're, you know, before you started decreasing. So whatever row that was, row 4, I think it was, we started decreasing. So it's around there. Okay, and you know, remember, you want the dog to be able to move about and all of this. All right, and sew on the same side, you know, meaning don't turn it inside out, or, you know, outside, inside out, outside, right side out. I'm sorry, right side out. Okay, so we're sewing on this side, and this will be the inside when we're done. All right, so you'll do this for all your pieces here. And no, I'm not the best sewer. If you've seen any of my videos, you already know that. I tell you, anytime sewing is involved, I try not to do it on camera as much as possible. Okay, so you want to make sure you got like a good solid connection straight down, you know, for each one. All right, and then you'll line up and you'll sew your other side together, and then we'll do the bottom. And then the neckline will work. A tapestry needle, if I didn't say it already, a tapestry needle works great also with a lot of different yarns, not necessarily the ultra bulky yarns, but like this is actually a tapestry needle, not a regular yarn needle, and it works great. You want a long eye so that you could squeeze the yarn down and shove it in. Okay, so something silly for you. All right, so you'll line up, and then you'll go across the row, and that's how low you'll sew the other side on. Okay. Oh, and wait till the end to weave in your ends. I'm sorry if I didn't say that sooner. Wait till the end to weave in all your ends, because we with the sewing, and also we're going to go in and do a border. You don't want to accidentally hit, like if you made a little knot or something, or, you know, you don't want to accidentally pull out a tail that was perfectly in place, you know, because that's a pain in the butt. Because then you have to try and fix it, you know, get it to where it's supposed to be again. All right, so on the bottom you'll do the same thing. You'll line up, and I know it seems tremendous, but we are going to do a border, a nice ribbed neckline, and that will close up some of the neck so that it's more, it's smaller, you know, that it's not all draping. Okay, so from here, I'm only off a little bit here, so it's fine. You might want to go smaller, you know, a row less, or, you know, depending on your pet or your measurements. Okay, so I'm going to seam this up to here. I'm going to seam that up. Now remember, the reason I did the narrowing is, remember, you know, dogs' arms are not that far apart. It's not like humans where our arms are like on the sides, you know, dogs' arms are in front. So that's why, you know, you don't want to annoy your dog with something that's too wide on the chest. If it's a lot of rubbing, they'll get mats, bad mats. So when you, you know, go to clean them up or you take them to the groomer, they'll have to shave real short, and, you know, you don't want that. Okay, so if you haven't, please subscribe. I know I say it a lot because, you know, I want you to subscribe. Make my day. All right, and I have other patterns up here. I have, you know, holiday stuff like Halloween and different amigurumis and stuff, which are the plushies, you know. I have doll clothing for some baby alives. Okay, from here, you're going to turn your piece right side out. Okay, and we are going to get this neckline a little bit more under control, and I'll show you what we're going to do for the leash, for the lead, for when you do that. All right, so we're going back in. We're going in the H hook, and I'm going to show you how to make a ribbed edge. Okay, so I'll show you how to make a ribbed edge. So now, if you can get it, you know, as close to the center on the chest, don't worry if it's a little off, not too big. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go in to where the chains are. Now it gets a little rough on the where you seamed it up, and you might have to like skip over that part, like, you know, but don't worry about it because this neck line is pretty big for the size dog we're going for. You know, their heads are not so tremendous. So what you're going to do is you're going to attach. You could do this in a different color if you like. You know, if you really want it to stand out. All right, so here you're just going to attach with a chain one. You got your right side out, you'll chain one, and you're going to go in, and we're in the H hook, and you're going to do a single crochet all the way around. Now when what I do, if you can see, is you have your chain. Right, this is the bottom. Let me zoom in for a second so you see what I'm talking. Okay, so here's where we did chaining. Now I don't go into just that one side of the chain. What I do is I go into where the stitch is. Okay, and what that does is it tightens it up. It gives you a little bit more to hold on to, because if you're only going into the chain, you're only going into one side. But if you go into where your stitches went into, to do this row down, then you have like a little bit more meat. You actually have two layers, two strands that you're picking up. Okay, so I would go in there instead of just here, if that makes sense. I show you this in other videos and stuff, but I like doing that. It makes it more sturdy. I think it makes it more sturdy of a piece, less stretching. You know, where it's only like, see, like this is where I would, if you were doing just a chain, you would go in here. Okay, but when you go in here, now you're gonna have that little, like, you're gonna have a loop there. So instead of like a little hole, like it'll look like a hole. So instead of going there, I would go in here where there's 2 layers. And this was just a loose chain that I did, but it works out because I'm showing you what I'm showing you. I'm zooming out. All right, so for this row, 1 single crochet all the way around. I don't have a stitch count for this. You should be approximately in the realm of, what did we say, 30 something on the back piece and 22. So you should be, I guess, around 50 something stitches. Around 50 something stitches, but don't worry about it. It's not, for this part, you don't need an exact count because when we do the ribbing, it's not going to matter. Okay, so 1 single crochet all the way around your neckline for, I don't know, I guess this is the neck row or something, okay? And then we'll do the ribbing. So this row of the single crochet just makes the ribbing go easier, I think. I mean, my opinion, since it's my pattern, I guess, you know. We have a collar. We have a leash, a lead, a collar, you know, with the metal loop and whatever. Okay, so take your piece. Here's approximately where your center is, right? Approximately from here. Okay, where your center is. All right, so try and, as best as you can, eyeball it. Try and make it as even as possible because I messed up and instead of telling you to pin it, I flippin' forgot. All right. Put a pin here on the back because we're going to chain there and skip over so that we can put our leash on our dog or our lead or whatever you want to call it. All right, so you'll continue working through the where your bottom stitches are in a single crochet. All right, I can't believe keep forgetting to do. I talk too damn much. I talk too much and then I mess up. Isn't that funny? Okay, so when you get close to this, you're going to skip over and you're going to chain. All right, so let's see. I got 1, 2. Yeah. So right here. And then I'm going to chain about 5 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm just going to skip over. All right, and we'll work from there after. So as close to the center as possible, but if you, because I totally messed up and didn't tell you to mark it, you might be a little off from the center. But eyeball it, you know. It's the dog's going to be moving. No one's going to be standing there saying anything, you know. Oh, your leash hole is crooked. And then continue working to where your first one is here, and then we're going to work the ribbing. All right. Usually I have a whole stitch count and everything, but even if I had a stitch count for you, an exact stitch count, yours might not be the same because I didn't sew your piece together. You know what I mean? You sewed it together, so, you know, and you didn't sew my piece together. You know what I mean? So, always that silliness. All right, so from here, slip stitch. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, turn your work to the side. Now we're working on the side. You're going to skip that first chain closest to the hook. All right, and you're going to work back in a single crochet for 3 stitches. 1 stitch per chain. Now when you get to the base, you're going to go in and you're going to slip 1, and then you're going to slip another. So you're slipping 2 on the base. Okay, turn your work, skip over your slips, and we're back loop only. Okay, so you'll skip over your slips, and the loop furthest away from you is the back loop. This loop here, this loop here is front loop, that loop there is the back loop. Okay, furthest away from you. So we're back loop only. And we're going to give this some, this will be, they call it ribbing. Okay, and this will look nice. Okay, so you work down. All right, now that's why we're doing 2 slips, because you're working 2 rows. You're working up 1 and down 1, so now you're skipping 2 on the base. All right, that's why we're slipping 2, in case you wanted to know. So you'll chain 1, turn your work, and then back loop only. All right, so this whole ribbing piece, this whole thing is back loop only, and it's 3 back loop only single crochet on that piece, and then 2 slips, turn your work, skip your slips, and then back to here. So now you'll continue working this all the way around. Okay, if you feel the neckline is too big, let me zoom the heck out, because why am I so zoomed in so much here? Okay, if you feel that your neckline is too big, you can always drop a couple of more stitches. What you're going to do here is you're just going to go through and you'll slip and continue on working this all the way around. You know what, let me get you there and I'll show you. Okay, so I know this is a little bit of a pain in the butt to do this ribbing for the whole neckline, but it does give it a nice look, and it does, it can be folded down or up, or, you know, whichever you prefer. And if you have a like a bulldog, like a bigger neck dog, some dogs have very large necks, or a lot of, you know, hair on their neck, you know what I mean? So that makes it fit better. You can also go longer with the ribbing if you like, you know, chain more and work more longer ribbing. It really depends on your style, your dog's style, you know, what you prefer. And also, you know, remember, you don't want the dog to be annoyed or traumatized because you put a sweater on them, you know. Some dogs are okay with it and some are not, you know. Okay, so now I'm upon my chain here, where we chained in the back for the leash, you know. So on here, you could just go in and slip. So just to show you, I just wanted to show you. I wanted to get there to show you, just in case, because you might get a little confused, like, all right, what's that? You know, like, what are we doing there? Because sometimes I'm like, well, what, you know, how are we going to fix it right or make it sit right, you know? Okay. So now you'll continue working this all the way around. All right, till you get to the front. And when you get to the front, don't go all the way onto it. What you're going to do is get as close as you can, okay? As close as you can to your part here. Then pull a tail, cut it, and sew it together. All right, and then weave in. Okay, so from here, you're pretty much done after you finish your neckline. Okay, if you want to, you know, if you want to do the ribbing on the bottom, you can do the ribbing on the bottom also, of course. All right, so but keep in mind, if it's a boy dog, and this hangs too low, they'll end up peeing on it. If it's a girl dog and you want to go longer, you know, of course, your choice. All right, so and then I'll show you, just, you know, at the end of this video, of course, is you know, pictures of what the dog looks like. So thank you so much for watching. As always, happy hooking. It keeps you off the streets and keeps you out of trouble. If you want to see more dog sweater, I mean, like, it's winter time now, so if you want to see more dog sweater vests, or you know, for smaller dogs, because that's what I got on hand. All right, then let me know. Comment below if I can accommodate. I will. I do have other patterns on YouTube. I have patterns for sale. I do have my new website, and I will be, if you check out my new website, I'm going to be doing a pattern of the month from my website. So like a little club, you know. So I think that's about it for now. k.jolie LLC Designs. That's my website at .com. All right, and I'm on Insta. I'm on here, showing you how to do stuff, and I'm on Etsy's and all that. So links below and all that. And give us a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. You know, comment below if you like. And I will be back real soon with my next tutorial. I have some other stuff coming out, Barbie clothes and stuff like that, other doll stuff, and you know, things like that. Happy hooking as usual, and I'll be seeing you. Take care of yourself, and if you're catching this video around New Year's, happy healthy New Year. Stay safe and all that good stuff, and take care. Bye for now. Ciao.